All right, this set of notes will be page 56, and we'll cover how we use the law of cosines to find sides and angles when we don't have right triangles. So let's turn to page 56 in our notes. And we're going to start with this same non-right triangle where we've got an angle that is A, and then just like when we were talking about our area formula, we're always going to label the sides across from our angles with the lowercase letter of that angle. So you may want to make a note to yourself that we use the law of cosines to find a missing side length in non-right triangles. So non-right triangles, when we know an angle and both adjacent sides. So that's when we will be using our law of cosines. All right, so our law of cosines says that a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of angle A. Might want to scoot yours over a little. Mine ran off the page, but it'll be fine. And I am going to go ahead and box that in because that is really important. We want to be able to focus on it and see it again later when we're coming back to try to find this formula. Okay? So, and for now, this is going to be a formula that you will be given. I don't expect you to have this formula memorized. However, when you get to Algebra 2, you will have to memorize this formula and you will see it again there. So let's talk about two different examples about how we're going to use this law of cosines formula. I'm going to just zoom out so we can see that formula as we're working. All right, so example 1, we have this angle that is 40 degrees, and we have our two sides that are 12 and 40, and notice that 12 and 20. The 20 is adjacent to that 40 degree angle, as is this 12 degree side, so 12th side. So we can use this law of cosines formula, and I'm going to go ahead and label my angles as A, B, and C. And it doesn't really matter what order you label them in, but that by labeling them this way, that will tell me that my B is 20 and my C is 12, and the side that we're looking for is that side A. So now we can go ahead and fill into our formula. So we have A squared equals B squared, and in this case our B is 20, so we have 20 squared, plus C squared, and C is 12, so we've got 12 squared, minus 2 times B is 20, I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses, times C, which is 12, times the cosine of A, and our A is 40 degrees here. So we can go ahead and start simplifying this. We're going to take care of the squares first. So we still have A squared equals 20 squared is 400, plus 12 squared is 144. And then we have minus 2 times 12 times 20, and we can go ahead and multiply those together. So 2 times 20 times 12 is going to give us, I believe, 480. So minus 480 times the cosine of 40 degrees. At this point, I would recommend that you just go ahead and put that into your calculator. There's absolutely no reason we couldn't have started with this first line and go ahead and put that into our calculator at that point. You can do it either way, simplify it a little bit, or put it all in at once. It doesn't matter. So we're going to do 400 plus 144 minus 480 times the cosine of 40. And I'm going to throw in that decimal so it goes ahead and gives me the decimal answer. So we end up with 176.299. And at this point, I would not start rounding. Okay, so if it's giving you 176.299, go ahead and keep all of those digits until we are ready for our final step. We don't really care what a squared is. We want to know what a is. So remember that the inverse of squaring is square rooting. So we are going to take the square root of 176.99. And we end up with 13.30. So a is approximately 13.3. And you could leave it as 13.3 or 13.30. Either way would be fine to round it. All right. Let's try one more example. We can also use this formula to find an angle. So in example 2, we know the 3 sides, and it's the angle that we're trying to find. So again, I'm going to label that angle that we're looking for as angle A, and then it doesn't really matter. I'm going to label the other 2 as B and C, just so that then I can go ahead and fill in that across from angle B is 9, so that's our side B. Across from our A is 18, so that's going to be our side A. And across from the C is 12, so that'll be our side C. And then we can go ahead and fill in using our formula. So a squared, this time I actually know the a, and so I've got 18 squared equals b squared, so 9 squared, plus c squared, and that's going to be 12 squared, minus 2 times b, our b is 9, times c, which is 12, times our cosine of a, and so we're just going to do cosine of a. And we don't know that a, so we're just going to leave it as an a for right now. All right, let's go ahead and, like we did in our last problem, start simplifying this. And we're going to do the squares first. So 18 squared is 324 equals 9 squared is 81. And 12 squared is 144. And negative 2 times 9 times 12 gives us negative 216. So that's going to be minus 216 times the cosine of a. At this point, we still don't have enough to be able to find the cosine of a. We haven't simplified enough. So one thing that we can do, this 81 plus 144, those are like terms, so we can go ahead and combine those together, and that's going to give us 225. So 324 equals 225 minus 216 times the cosine of a. And now we can start solving this just like we would any other equation. We want to get rid of this 225 to begin with, so we're going to subtract 225 from both sides of our equation. And that leaves us with 99 equals 225 minus 225 is 0, so that is no longer part of our equation, minus 216 times the cosine of a. So the inverse of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide by that negative 216. And we end up with, when we divide that, and this is another place where I don't want you to simplify, to start rounding. Go ahead and keep as many digits as you see. So we're going to have negative 0.4583 equals this negative 216 divided by negative 216 is just 1, so 1 cosine A, or just cosine A. So remember, at this point we're trying to find an angle, and remember that when we were looking for angles we had to use the inverse function. So in order to find what A equals, we will have to do the inverse cosine of negative 0.4583. And at this point, that's when we're going to go ahead and use our calculator and finish this off. So we want the inverse cosine of negative 0.4583. And that will tell us that our angle is 117 degrees. And remember, I wanted you to round that to the whole degree. So A equals 117 degrees. So those are two different ways that you can use the law of cosines, one to find a missing side length and one to find a missing angle.